Professor Dr. Erik Paolo Capistrano, thank you so much for being with us. He's from the University of the Philippines, and he just got promoted to full professor at University of the Philippines. So congratulations. He is professor of business administration at the CISA EI Virata School of Business. He also is principal investigator from the University of the Philippines RHIA Research Center. He earned his PhD in international management from National Cheng Kung University in Taiwan. And tomorrow we have his professor speaking in the morning, Professor Victor Chen. His research appeared in Computers in Human Behavior, Computer Standards and Interfaces, Industrial Management and Data Systems, International Journal of Market Research, Asian Journal of Social Science, and I think the list is much longer. Thank you very much for being with us and proofreading the abstracts and being very critical and very fast. Thank you so much, Professor Erik Capistrano.
Okay, so good day to everyone, and thank you for the opportunity to present my ongoing research on digital trust perceptions here in the Philippines. I would like to give an acknowledgement first to Dr. Serrano for starting my research. That's an ongoing endeavor, so thank you so much. And full disclosure, this research is funded by my current professorial chair, the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas. That's the central bank of the Philippines. And this study has been a long-term. It's a long-term one. And as Dr. Launer mentioned, this is inspired by the mentorship that I received from Dr. Chen, of whom you will be listening to tomorrow. Okay, so for the purposes of this presentation, just to give you a quick outline of my study so far. So this is going to be a full paper, all the way from the introduction all the way to the discussions, all pertaining to the digital trust perceptions of consumers here in the Philippines. Okay, so for the rationale, motivations, and research questions for this. So, especially because of the pandemic, new and improved ICTs have intensified the changes in processes and practices involved in doing business. And for that matter, many organizations have adopted a multi-pronged approach, meaning they are present not only in one online sphere, but in many others. Typically a website and then some presence in social media. So it's becoming more integrated in the implementations of their online business strategies. And therefore, as a result of this, many of the present alternatives that we are seeing, and to name a few, which will be included in the study, are as follows: Instagram to enhance marketing communications, e-commerce to enhance buying and selling with companies and customers, e-government to improve services to citizens, and Facebook to provide alternatives to do business. So if you recall, back in 2018, when I first presented in Suderburg, I made an initial discussion here. Now we are seeing the results. I'm going to present to you the results of that initial discussion that I made 3 years ago today. Okay. So how is it commonly done? So an organization's e-commerce website, okay, you have there, but they're also now expanding to include social media, such as Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. So more and more proactive organizations employ social media not only for push marketing, but it can also be an alternative to talk to their customers, get in touch with them, even do business. Okay. So as a result, now there's a reemergence of long-standing issues of trust towards technology use. And as presented earlier, technologies have become more invasive and omnipresent because they have become more prevalent in individuals' working lives. So therefore, this particular research will have two questions. First, two objectives. First is examining the respective roles of digital trust towards influencing favorable attitudes and favorable intentions towards continued use of online channels to do business. And the second objective would be examining whether or not there are differences amongst all of the four alternatives that I have mentioned. So a quick literature review just to present my theoretical foundation for this research. Okay. So digital trust is built and developed based on an examination of different sources. So this is basically from McKnight. Okay. So the organization providing the service, okay, the technology that uses it, and the process is designed and established in these online contexts. And therefore, okay, for the final dependent variable for this is going to be on the intentions, which is a widely used dependent variable to represent individuals. And in trust theory, these intentions to adopt, use, and continue using the technology are posited to be a manifestation on how successful the trust building efforts are. So this is the proposed framework. For this research, having three hypothesis. Okay. The third one is actually a hypothesized mediating effect of attitudes towards online channels between trust and intentions to use. So quickly presenting here the theoretical arguments for each of the hypotheses. So for trust towards influence, towards intentions to use online channels, basically it's all about these online interfaces as representations and projections of trust should induce immediate intentions and behaviors. Now, for attitudes, this is a common observation amongst trust literature. So it's formed based on the observations and experiences while making transactions, and it's supposed to be an outcome of trust-building initiatives that could lead to other manifestations of different forms of perceptions and behaviors. In this case, intentions. And therefore, the attitude towards the online channel as a mediator now is also hypothesized here and is perceived to be a critical variable that can reinforce hypothesized influences of the determinants towards their corresponding outcomes. So that being said, we are going to look at 4 scenarios, as I've mentioned, and therefore, for the methods part, and we'll quickly go through the questionnaire development. Okay, so it was developed based on past research, 4 items on trust, 3 items on attitudes, and 3 items of intentions to continue using the online channel. And Filipino respondents were first asked, what is the online platform that they engage the most? So it can be one of the 4. And these, what you're seeing right now, are the specific purposes for each one, as I have mentioned earlier. And basically, I've gathered like 200 usable responses from each of the 4 contexts just to ensure equal number of respondents per scenario for a total of 800. And I use SPSS and AMOS statistical software for all of the analysis done here. Now for the results, so these are the demographics. So normally, as you can see, typical of Filipino populations for digital technology use. Many of them are young, okay? A near equal distribution of the gender, and a near even spread in terms of the number of years they have been using. Certain pieces of technology. As for the descriptive statistics, you can see here both the descriptives on the mean and standard deviations, and of course the results of the standardized loadings due to the confirmatory factor analysis that I have conducted. So you can see here, I want to highlight here the disparities between the means and which ones are the highest means and which ones are the highest in terms of the standardized loadings. Keep this in mind because later on towards the discussion part, I will be going back to this. Now, of course, similar observations have also been found when I broke it down to each of the 4 contexts. So I can quickly highlight here, we can see differences between which question item has the highest mean versus which question item has the highest standardized loading for each of the 3 major research variables that I have included in this study. And of course, just for the sake of transparency, I'm also presenting here the validity, reliability, and correlation matrix to ensure that the data that I've collected are usable for the structural equation modeling that I did here in the next slide. So we can see here that overall, using all 800 respondents, there's little statistical support for hypothesis 1, trust towards intention. But we can see here now some significant mediating effect of attitude towards online channel that exists between the relationship of trust and intentions to continue using the online channel. So as you can see here. So I've also broken it down to the four, four, and we can see similar results. Surprisingly, here we can see that there are some differences as well, and this would play later on again in the conclusions that I will be quickly discussing. Okay. I've also conducted some post-hoc analysis just to test whether or not a number of the demographic information that I've gathered can have an effect. And we can see here that in terms of the age, gender, and years of using the online channel, it is on the intentions that has the most, that exerts a lot of statistical influence towards it. So quickly going now to the discussions. So for the first research objective, so we can see here that building trust alone is not enough to sway individuals to exhibit favorable intentions. Okay, so that being said, attitude is an important consideration. In other words, whatever trust building strategy that an organization would have, regardless of which online channel that it will employ, it must be geared first towards cultivating favorable attitudes before cultivating favorable intentions. So by doing so, this will strengthen the eventual exhibiting of such favorable intentions. Now, as for the second research objective, we can see here that based on the results of the factor analysis and the descriptive analysis, there are currently moderate to high levels of trust exhibited across all channels. However, social commerce, that means the Facebook context, earned the lowest rating in terms of trust, followed by e-commerce and then Instagram. And then e-government received the highest trust rating as based on those results. So the thing is, like, despite any push now from industry that's saying that social media is a good channel as an emerging channel to do business, you still need to think about it, because Instagram in this case earned the lowest ratings both in attitudes and intentions. So favorable perceptions actually follow through on trust by exhibiting favorable attitudes and intentions are still limited to e-commerce and e-government channels, which is actually their main purpose. So it's not yet a viable alternative as far as social media channels such as Facebook and Instagram is concerned, because of the original nature of e-commerce and an e-government channel has been well established over the years. Social media channels are originally intended to be more of the informal use. It's only later that academics and practitioners saw the potential for business use. So what are the theoretical implications for this? So it provides another means to view the seminal works of McKnight and Shervani and McKnight et al., which is the main theory that I've utilized for this research. And it also emphasized the theoretical and crucial role of developing favorable attitudes as a means to induce favorable intentions. And of course, you now have these trust building at the initial stages as of the process of using ICTs as important. Okay? So that would mean how your mobile app looks, how your website looks, how your interface looks. And as for the practical implications, even though organizations adopt a multi-pronged approach to enhance their online presences, there should be a conscious effort to examine each one, because trust, attitudes, and intentions to continue use can differ depending on the channel. As limitations and directions for future research, so obviously additional variables to further reflect the realities of this intensifying ICT use to do business must be considered, and that would depend on a plethora of past researches using frameworks such as the Unified Theory of Acceptances Use Technology and information system success model. And therefore also we could also use use this research as a springboard to explore on the strengths and weaknesses of online channels. So differentiating differences in highlighting the weaknesses of social media, and such findings are actually running counterintuitive with what industry is saying at the moment. In other words, we should give pause to the potential of social media for now, and the insights produced here would prove to be meaningful, especially for organizations wanting a better strategy for their omnipresent online channels. So with that quick presentation on that ongoing research project, so thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you so much. You're participating again in the conference, I think the 4th time as well. I remember the times we were in Hofbräuhaus in Hamburg, we were in Berlin, we were in Lübeck at the ocean, and we visited the Volkswagen plant, and it was so great to have you. Thank you so much, Erik.
Yeah, hopefully I'll see you soon in person.
Yes, I tried to come to the Philippines. Actually, but if I come now, we have 10 days quarantine.
Yes, definitely. We have to wait for it to be more convenient before we proceed.
Yeah, Germany is a high-risk country right now, and cases of COVID is very, very bad right now. Luckily, a lot of people are vaccinated, but not all of them yet. And I hope this becomes better soon.